Why China chose Africa. And why this is our moment. The 21st century is not being fought over oil. It is being fought over one thing. Manufacturing. For 3 decades, China was the factory of the world. But China is getting expensive. And the West? The West is closing its doors. Tariffs. Trade wars. Uncertainty. Preparations for Armageddon. Weapons supply for proxy wars. So China asked itself a question. Where do we go next? The answer was never India. It was never Vietnam. It was never South America. It was Africa. And this time, it is not about stealing resources. It is about building something new. Together. The core difference between China and the West. Let us be honest. Africa has been exploited before. Europe came for gold. America came for oil. They built mines, not factories. They took wealth, and left poverty. China is different. Not because China is kind. But because China's needs are different. China does not want to steal. China already has resources. What China needs is a reliable manufacturing partner. A place where Chinese companies can produce goods cheaply, efficiently, and sell them to the world. And more importantly, China needs a market. 1 billion young Africans are entering the consumer class. Who will sell to them? Europe is far. America is distracted. But China is right here. When Africa manufactures for China, Africa grows. When Africa grows, Africa buys from China. That is not colonialism. That is a win-win. Why Africa is China's best bet? Let us look at the numbers. In China, manufacturing wages are rising 12% every single year. The average factory worker in China now earns over $325 a month. In Africa, that number is often under $100. But it is not just about cheap labor. Look at other continents. Europe is aging. America is divided. India. India has aligned itself with America. That is their choice. But that also means India is not neutral anymore. India wants to be like America. Lost all neighbors to China. Investors escaped, small industries vanished. Africa is different. Africa is open. Africa is non-aligned. Most African countries have stable, favorable political relationships with China, with the West, and with the global South. That neutrality is power. That neutrality makes Africa the safest bet for manufacturing in the world today. Where the factories are rising. And the factories are already coming. In Ethiopia, the Eastern Industrial Zone is now home to dozens of Chinese factories making shoes, clothes, and leather goods. Hundreds of thousands of Ethiopians have jobs. In Nigeria, the Lekki Free Zone is assembling home appliances, electronics, and building materials for 230 million consumers. Made in Nigeria. Sold to Nigerians. In Morocco, Chinese companies are building electric vehicle batteries to sell directly to Europe. Morocco is becoming a link in the global EV supply chain. In South Africa, Hisense runs a massive industrial park where over 70% of managers are local. They make televisions. They sell them across Africa. This is not a dream. This is happening right now. What Africa gets out of this? Some people will say, China is just using cheap African labor. Let us challenge that. Yes, China benefits. That is what partnerships do. But what does Africa get? Number 1. Jobs. Real, formal manufacturing jobs. not just farming or informal trade. Number 2. Skills. When Chinese factories come, they train local workers. Engineers. Technicians. Managers. Those skills do not leave when China does. Number 3. Infrastructure. China builds the roads, the power plants, the internet cables. Africa keeps them. Number 4. A path up the value chain. Today, Africa assembles. Tomorrow, Africa designs. The day after, Africa owns. No country industrializes overnight. China did not. Japan did not. South Korea did not. But they all started exactly where Africa is now. Making simple things. Learning. Growing. The challenges, and why they can be overcome. Let us be real. There are challenges. There are deceptions and lies. Electricity is unreliable in many places. Roads are bad. Ports are slow. Corruption and red tape still exist. But here is the truth. China faced the same problems 30 years ago. They built their way out. Africa can too. The difference is that China is now investing billions to help fix these problems. $51 billion from the latest FOCAC summit alone. Yes, Africa still imports more from China than it exports. That is not a trap. That is a starting point. Every successful manufacturing nation started with a trade deficit. Then they learned. Then they flipped it. Africa is no different. The opportunity is now. Here is the most important thing you will hear today. The world is changing. America and China are fighting. Europe is struggling. The old supply chains are breaking. Africa is the only continent that is young, hungry, stable, and open for business at the same time. This is not luck. This is geography. This is demography. This is history giving Africa a second chance. Our grandparents fought for political freedom. Our parents fought for democracy. Our generation. We fight for economic freedom. And economic freedom is built in factories. Not in mines. Not in aid. In factories. The 21st century is for Africa. So here is the message to every young African watching this. Do not wait for China to save you. Do not wait for the West to help you. China has made an offer. They need a manufacturing partner. They need a market. They have chosen Africa. Now Africa must choose itself. Learn skills. Build businesses. Demand better roads, better electricity, better schools. Hold your leaders accountable. Invest in your own continent. Because when Africa manufactures for the world, Africa will no longer be poor. Africa will be the next superpower. The 21st century is not for America. It is not for China. It is for Africa. But only if we take it. Like, share, and subscribe. And remember, the future is made here. The 21st century belongs to Africa. Africa got the resources, manpower, new superpowers as partners.